You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, where men of fantasy genius have realized, hey guys, we don't need real football skills to dominate on the fantasy field. Yeah. So slap on your pads and grab your helmet. Shit's about to get real.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Tonight, I am, regrettably, your host, Matt Rodgers, and I'm joined by none other than one of my least favorite best friends, Vinny Gonzalez. Vinny, what's going on, dude?
Very well put, Matt. I'm doing good, dude. How's it going?
Pretty good. I've been getting back to the podcast game. I've gotten you, Shrek, and Walsh. Luckily, I've been avoiding Don, and it's been really hard to do. No one really may notice that I've been doing it, but yeah, I'm hoping to avoid that for years to come.
It seems that, yeah, it's working right now, so I can't see a reason for you guys to get on a podcast other than by complete force like usual.
Yeah, exactly. Other than it's the one that no one will listen to, the Don Madcast that no one should listen to. But anyway, we are here with the Week 5 preview. We are almost a third of the way through the fantasy regular season, Vinny. This shit is flying very, very quickly. It's both exciting and depressing. If you haven't listened to our Week 4 recap, I believe Shrek ripped through that last night. That should be coming to you soon and be out there. Good stuff as always. But this week, me and Vinny are going to be getting into the preview of Week 5. I think after 4 weeks, you kind of have a good idea of how you could value a lot of these dudes. Shrek and I talked last week in the preview where like Week 4 is the week where you finally know what you have. Right, Vinny?
Yeah. The patterns have been established and trends have been established. So now you can start panicking or, kind of picking out how you want to move your guys or hold on to them. So definitely have more of an idea of what the fuck is going on.
Definitely. Sample sizes are legitimate now. And if you've been sad for the first couple weeks, now you should really be sad because if you suck, you really suck. And
if you're good,
never trust it ever.
Yeah, you should still be very worried.
Yeah. So before we get into this, I just want to bring you one of our sponsor reads. This podcast is courtesy of MyBookie. At the end of a hard week, it's great to sit down, take some time off, and watch some football. Game-winning touchdowns on 2-minute drives? Running backs racing down the sidelines with no one to stop them? Hell yeah, MyBookie. Bet on that. There's nothing else like the NFL, and there's no better way to make the games even more exciting than to bet on them. So do the smart thing. Go to mybookie.ag. No one gives you more ways to win than they do. MyBookie's got the fastest payouts, better lines than any other sportsbook. So don't forget where you're betting, is just as important as who you're betting on. And mybookie.ag is the best in the business. It's where I play. It's where Vinny plays. It's where I lose all of my money. And that's where you should lose all of your money too. So go for it. When you go on mybookie.ag, use the promo code Let's Talk. That'll get you a 100% off sign-up bonus up to $1,000. So definitely check it out, guys. It's useful, and it's a lot of fun. So without a doubt, Vinny, let's get into it. There's some news out of the NFL this week. Vinny and I will get to it with our game-to-game stuff. We got some guys that are seen on the field, like Tyreek Hill, Saquon Barkley. We'll dive a little deeper into that. Melvin Gordon was back last week. He, might actually play in this next game. But like I said, me and Vinny are going to get to that with the game-to-game. We'll hit everything going on. So, Vinny, you got anything else before we jump into these games?
No, let's do it. I regret putting this game first, even though it is first on the 1 o'clock slate.
Yeah, so this first game we got, I thought that you were doing it just to get it out of the way so you could, get past it.
Maybe subconsciously, yes.
Yeah, we have the Cardinals at the Bengals. Cardinals, you wrote these spreads down, Vinny. Are the Cardinals favorited at 3.5? They're minus 3.5, or the Bengals?
The Bengals are negative 3.5. So
home team life. I got you.
Right, it's looking rough. I don't know why they're favored at all.
Yeah, when you have two completely shitty teams, I guess it's just the home team that doesn't have to get on a plane is the favorite by more than a field goal. So we got Cardinals at Bengals. Let's jump right into the Bengals here, Vinny. I'll kick it up to you. John Ross, we saw make that sick one-handed catch. Monday night was kind of like a blah whatever game. What are you thinking of the Bengals this week? I know you've been rolling out Andy Dalton in some leagues, and you might against me in a league this week, which I would love to have happen. But walk me through this Bengals offense. You're the expert.
Yeah, no problem, dude. It sucks. It's going pretty rough right now, 0-4. Andy Dalton, I don't think, is the worst contrarian daily fantasy play. I think you got to do a lot of talking yourself into it to do it in an actual league. I just said it to you fuck with your head this week. But
Okay.
it might be an option for people in like 14 teams, 2 quarterback leagues. It's not a bad matchup, but I like it better as like a tricky daily fantasy move more so than anything. Just because these teams are just they're bad, and I think they're going to put up a lot of points because the defenses are so poor.
I like that too. And like as we get through these games, you'll see like a lot of the fringe streamer guys that you may be rolling out in a matchup based thing have some issues going on this week, whether it's injuries or a bad matchup like the Josh Allens of the world or things like that. So Andy Dalton, like you said, like a deep type streamer type or daily guy. I don't hate it. Cardinals kind of suck in the secondary. That's kind of been proven. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they also suck against the run. So I think Joe Mixon has the ability to have a good game. I say that every week. He does have the ability. It's just the Bengals don't get him enough touches. Their offense doesn't stay on the field. So I think you continue to roll him out there, but his upside seems a little shot. And I think I'd be pretty worried about Joe Mixon for season long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where you drafted him is kind of sketchy now, but you do have to keep rolling him out there. I still put him at like that mid to high running back 2 value. You probably don't have any better options, so keep rolling with that, right?
Yeah, and honestly, it's one of his softer matchups to start the season. So, they've faced some pretty decent fronts like the 49ers, Bills. Pittsburgh's a little weird, but they just shut them out anyway. So Mixon has a softer, defense to face, so that could help a lot.
Yeah, that game's always a slop fest to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. So don't be the guy that started Mixon for 4 straight weeks and then sits him this week and watch him actually hit pay dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll move over to the passing game here. Like we talked about, John Ross is banged up, probably won't play, right? Is that true, Vinny?
Yeah, they actually threw him on IR with the shoulder injury. So
wow, did not even see that. So John Ross is out. Pretty sexy, savvy waiver pickup in the first couple of weeks. That that sucks for anybody that bought into that. Tyler Boyd is a dude that you're rolling out there no matter what, right?
Absolutely.
So let's get into some of this deeper. We like Andy Dalton a little bit, so let's talk about some of these deeper options, Vinny. Get into what else in the passing game you can talk about.
My eye immediately went to because I know the Cardinals are giving up points to everyone and their fucking mother to the tight end. So I think Tyler Eifert is a good play. He dropped a touchdown Monday night, but I think he has a lot of opportunity to be very streamable here and should put up a decent week. Just because the Cardinals just do not cover tight ends.
Yeah, I've seen the Arizona Cardinals have given up 6 touchdowns to tight ends already, and I had to like quadruple check this, but they're almost giving up 28 points per game to the tight end position. That's ridiculous. If you're spinning the wheel, Eifert is one of the better spins of the wheel this week for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my eye was caught by another guy who is kind of involved even when John Ross was out there, and that's Auden Tate, who seems to be getting about like 5 to 8 targets a game, which is absurd. But he is a freak athlete and should see a decent amount of this passing offense as, Ross is gone and they're just going to have to throw it out quick. And I think Auden Tate's been getting more targets than maybe he should. But when you're throwing to just Auden Tate, probably Alex Erickson, who's a shifty slot guy, but I wouldn't really play him. And Tyler Boyd, who's going to have probably 15 targets in this game. So I like Tyler Boyd a lot. Auden Tate is a deeper guy and like daily fantasy guy, but a savvy pickup nonetheless for Auden Tate, who's been involved in their offense regardless of injuries.
Yeah, definitely. When we were talking in our group chat during that Monday night game, someone was like, Tate is actually going to get some work. And I was like, Brandon Tate? I don't know enough about the Bengals at all. And I was like, oh shit, this is some other dude that's like actually kind of relevant. Over the last 2 games, 16 targets, 10 catches, pretty good. I'll talk to you about this, Vinny, because you're the Bengals guy. Realistically, I picked him up in one of my deep leagues, like a 12-team full PPR league with a short bench. We'll talk about this guy a little bit later, but I have Will Fuller concerns a little bit. Picked up Auden Tate on the waivers because they go through Tuesday night, and I'm considering starting Auden Tate over Will Fuller. We'll get into his situation a little bit later, but like, is that the worst idea to throw him out there as like a low-end wide receiver 4 flex play?
Damn, it's really not. That's definitely a very unique situation and kind of the shittiest one because Will Fuller can get you that big ass game, and it's definitely coming for Will Fuller, and It's definitely going to be the week you sit him for Auden Tate, who could wind up with like not a bad week. Like I don't think Auden Tate is going to fuck you. I think that Will Fuller can win you your week, but still we've seen him fuck you every single week.
Yes. So translation to what Vinny's saying about fucking you and not fucking you is that he's saying that Auden Tate might have a higher floor than Will Fuller does, but Will Fuller has the higher ceiling. where it's like this guy may really fuck you, but also the other guy may not fuck you as much. So, all right, I like that. Anything else on the Bengals you got there, really?
No, not really. That's pretty much it for these guys.
So flipping over to the Cardinals, one of my favorite guys in fantasy for a lot of different reasons. Kyler Murray. So here's the thing. I'm going to take the Kyler Murray conversation real quick. The Kyler Murray floor is real. He looks like he's running for his life constantly out there. That O-line in Arizona is absolutely shitty, but he still manages to put up between like 16 to 19 fantasy points per week. He's like quarterback 13, and recently has been getting a little bit more into the running game. Looks like they have a little more designed runs for him. I don't know if he survives much longer, but how do you feel about Kyler Murray as far as like in the streaming discussion versus dudes like Andy Dalton Kyler Murray's probably more owned, but what are your thoughts?
I think you play him like 100%. This is probably the week where we see his ceiling. We've seen his floor in every single game he's been in, and it's been pretty good. So I really think he reaches his ceiling in this game and is probably going to score somewhere like 22 to 28 fantasy points in this game.
Yeah, I like that. This may be the week where he first finds a rushing touchdown. One thing, let's go right to the passing game that sucks because I do like Kyler still. Christian Kirk injured, probably won't play in this game. We've seen Fitzgerald be way more relevant than we thought. What are your thoughts on Fitzgerald and this Arizona passing game in relation to Kyler Murray with what they can do without Christian Kirk, who seems to be like their catalyst?
Yeah, so Christian Kirk is probably out, and that moves Andy Isabella into like kind of on the Auden Tate level pickup. I feel like they're both pretty much on the same. Like they both have cupcake matchups against each other, and I feel like they're both going to see a pretty good amount of targets in this game and could possibly score. So I like them both in that same kind of realm. But Larry, I think you're playing regardless. He's been great. You can't bench that dude. And then pretty much Andy Isabella is going to be the one out there, I think, reaping most of the missing Christian Kirk targets.
Yeah, depending on Kirk's status, Andy Isabella may be a high upside compared to what the waiver wire does wide receiver snag, depending on what happens this week. I like Auden Tate more than him just because we've seen it on the field as far as target share and stuff like that. But I do think that it could go this way if Kirk misses a little bit more time.
Yeah, like we were saying, I think higher floor with Tate and then higher ceiling with probably Isabella.
Okay, you're right. I like that too. Just to touch on the running game real quick, you're starting David Johnson, obviously.
Yep.
Shrek and I last week talked on the podcast about how Alexander Mattison, one of the most important handcuffs in fantasy football. I think Chase Edmonds is getting to that range a little bit. We've seen him get a decent amount of work when David Johnson seems like they're like number one receiver more than he's getting actual like good work on the ground. But Chase Edmonds is still a factor in the game, and I feel like if Johnson were to go down or you own him with how thin the running back waiver wire is, Chase Edmonds is a nice grab if you're a David Johnson owner.
Yeah, I still feel like it's he's kind of one of those handcuffs where he's really only going to be a factor if David Johnson goes down. So it's like kind of a later season ad. I still feel like it's still on the early side. Like, when it's getting closer to playoff pushes, you want to snag somebody earlier. I think you probably have a couple more weeks before Chase Edmonds must be owned. But if you want to be smart and just sort of play it like that, if you have room, definitely add Chase Edmonds.
Right, yeah. Like I'm in our league, and I'll say right now where Jordan Howard's on the waiver, I'm not going to get him. And there's some other guys like that on the waiver that I probably won't get. And I have Jamal Williams, who I have to drop. You're going to drop somebody, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to waste a waiver, drop him on Chase Edmonds, who I may drop as my handcuff as a David Johnson owner in another week, but that may be one of your more worthwhile waiver moves if you have to make a move like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So nothing else really on Arizona there, right, Vinny?
Nope.
So you want to pick this game real quick? What you doing?
Yeah, dude, I'm taking the Cardinals. I don't think the Bengals get this done at all. Like,
come on, at home to Arizona?
Yeah, they're 0-4 and look like complete shit. They can't. It's going to be close, but I do think Kyler Murray makes a couple freak plays, and that's going to be the difference maker.
Okay, well, I'm going to take the Cardinals as well. I did not think it was going to go that way, but that way it went. So moving on, we have Jaguars at the Panthers. Panthers favored at 3.5. I see this correctly.
Yes, sir.
So let's get into the Jaguars first. I have your first note here. Minshew is actually good. What do you have to say about Gardner Minshew? Because he's the people's champion right now.
He really is, man. And like the first week when he did good, like he did a couple good things, like a couple like dime passes where I'm just like, that looked very good, but I'm still going to bet against this guy. And just because he's cool, I'm not going to start a defense against him. And I talked up the Broncos, and they wound up getting it done somewhat, but still let up like crazy plays to him. And he was just like in the pocket, like getting away from Von Miller and Bradley Chubb when he was in there. I'm just like, this dude slings fucking pig. Yeah. So I'm just like, he doesn't only look cool. This dude fucking rules. So I'm like full on board now. The only thing is like going up against the Panthers, and like for fantasy purposes, he showed a pretty stable floor. I don't really know what his ceiling is, but he's, getting up in that 15-18 range. So you're not streaming him or anything, especially in like a rough matchup against the Panthers, who have been great against the pass.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to your point, watching that game, I watched the end of it. And when the Broncos went down and scored that touchdown to Sutton, I was like, okay. And like you saw Minshew just like with that like headband or whatever, just like, all right, ready to roll. And I was like, this is where you bleed, dude. And he walked out there and he got like fucked up by someone like on a throw. Yeah. And he was like limping and hobbling and then went down and like did the drive to win that game. To your point, I don't know if he's in the streaming conversation because I don't think he has a ceiling. I think his ceiling is really, really low. I like him, though, to your point also, for making other players relevant. So there's not really a drop-off from what we thought from guys like Shark and Westbrook and, even Fournette and guys like that on what we can expect from them going to Minshew. Let's go into this passing game. Shark is a guy that's been a nice little sneaky grab late in drafts. How do you feel about him this week?
I think he needs to be played. It's going to depend on, like, I think Ramsey doesn't play. I think he misses again. He's not practicing. So he's really not going to cause any problems out there. And then, like, the Jaguars have been getting beat pretty much otherwise. They've shown, like, a little bit of holes in their defense, more so than, like, what we're accustomed to seeing. It's not really lockdown anymore. So I think Shark needs to be, like, your wide receiver 3 or in flex consideration. He's done very well.
Okay. I'm on the other end of that. James Bradbury of the Panthers has been quietly.
I was talking about like he was going up against Ramsey. My bad. I was thinking of Bradbury. I'm so stupid, but he will be matched up against Bradbury, which is a tough draw.
So Bradbury should that. Yeah, I was like, I mean, hey, Ramsey's so crazy that he could like trade it mid game and go over to the Panthers and like just rip on Doug Marrone and like yell at him. But
take what I said and talk about DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, and then I'll just fucking sit here.
Cool. So Bradbury is like one of the sneakier best corners in the league, kind of. He shut down Hopkins for like 5 catches for like 40-something yards.
Oh, the dude is lights out.
Shut down Mike Evans for a little bit, and we'll get into that passing game a little bit more. I think this is the week that you sit Shark. If you were a guy that was playing Shark, be savvy enough to play the matchup as you should. I think this is actually a decent D.D. Westbrook week because I agree that the Jaguars may be throwing a lot down, and Westbrook's target share, even though he hasn't been super relevant, has been pretty steady in like the 6 to 7 range. And I don't know. I just think that when they start when Gardner starts slinging that pig, I think it's going to go that way a little bit more. And this is the week that you can kind of fade off Shark. That's just me.
Yeah, that's actually like very fair. And Westbrook has shown that he's been able to get open. Like he dropped the touchdown. And he's had a couple things called back. So you might be looking at his box scores and just being like, this dude kind of sucks. But he's been out there making plays. So if you want to play Westbrook, I don't hate that at all. Yeah,
for sure. Nothing really else in the passing game, right? We saw O'Shaughnessy, like, don't throw him in the tight end pool yet. Caught that touchdown. Fournette went for like 220-some yards. Didn't find the end zone. Like, whatever, dude. You got to roll out Fournette.
Yep.
I think that's pretty much it on the Jaguars, right?
Yeah.
So let's go over the Panthers. The Kyle Allen Panthers are completely fine. We saw it 2 weeks in a row, so cool. Is Kyle Allen in your streamer conversation still?
So me and Walsh were talking about this, and he's like we're comparing him to Daniel Jones in like a way that you pick him up, you can stream him. Like last week, they had a good matchup against the Texans. Kind of didn't do too much with it, and I think that's more like they beat up on the Cardinals, and Allen looked like really good, and obviously he should have going against the Cardinals. And then in a game where they wanted to slow it down, they just did. So I think this is pretty much with this over under 41. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points going around, so I wouldn't really stream him against the Jaguars.
I like that a lot. And just to piggyback off your point is that I actually like that in a questionable streamer where it's like do good against a good matchup and then do not that good against like a maybe questionable. Even though the Texans' pass defense isn't great, I'm not going to say they are, but like you can kind of realize what Kyle Allen is and when you can play him, and that's what you want out of a streamer.
Yeah, he'll beat the shit out of the bad teams, which is, not not to say the Jaguars are, bad or anything, but his likelihood of going off against the Jaguars D is low.
Right. Good point. And then we can just gloss over Christian McCaffrey, sit him, obviously. Don't play that dude.
Hell no.
So let's just jump right into that passing game. We saw there's been a lot of feast and a lot of famine in this Panthers passing game, and it's hard to predict. So you got Olsen, who's still a tight end one play, even though he ripped like 2 catches for less than 10 yards in this game last week. You got Samuel, underwhelming, Moore a little bit underwhelming, but they've all had flashes in the pan of good shit. How do you gauge this situation? Who are you playing?
All right, so now I can talk about Jalen Ramsey, who's probably not going to play. But,
all right.
But I really don't think the guy plays, so that's how I'm going to talk about this matchup. I think that DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, I think they both need to be, like I said before, incorrectly, but like wide receiver 3s in your flex. Because like you said, they showed flashes and they can pop off and win your week. And I think that's enough to make me want to do that. Like I said, don't stream Kyle Allen, but DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel are guys that take dump offs or get big shots and they're gone. So I like that they have weak winning ability. And if Ramsey's not out there, that makes me more confident in these guys.
I agree with that too. And like, if you look at those wide receivers, you got to start Olsen. So I'll just say those wide receivers. The issue with Samuel was more like that PPR, like reception type guy, and DJ Moore was more the number one. But we've seen it kind of the inverse, where Curtis Samuel has had some missed opportunities with some high volume target share, drop end zone, red zone targets. That's a little bit of a shocker. I feel like he's been used more in the red zone than anyone thought. Whereas DJ Moore is the guy that his volume is a little bit lower than you would have hoped, but he's got that big home run capability that has happened in I think week 3 when he caught that 50-yard touchdown. So where you drafted these guys and how your lineup is constructed probably means that they're your wide receiver 3, and I think you still roll out with them, like you said.
Yeah, for sure.
So other than that, I don't really think there's anything else on this game. You got anything else, Vinny?
No. Did you say Greg Olsen?
I talked about Greg Olsen, just the fact that you have to kind of play him. And he had that underwhelming 2 catches for, whatever yards. But he's a low tight end 1. You're not finding anything better on the wheel. Like, I'd rather play him over Eifert, even in a good matchup, right?
No, that's definitely fair. Yeah, for sure.
So you got to roll him out there. You probably grabbed him off the waivers or drafted him late, so just stick with your shit. Don't get cute. You got to play Olsen.
I like it.
All right, so you want to pick this game, Vinny? Go for it.
Minshew gets it done. I'm going to go Jaguars by like a field goal.
Don't hate it, but I'm going to take the Panthers just because I'm just going to take the Panthers.
Just because.
So moving on, Falcons, Texans. One of like the weirdest, but shouldn't be the weirdest games of the week, right?
This is going to be a fun one, I hope. I was let down last week by the Panthers Texans, so I think this one will be a lot better.
Yeah, so again, I just want to echo your outline comments here because they're very spot on. These defenses suck, but these offenses have been struggling. So let's jump into the Falcons first. Let's talk a little bit of Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, I'm a Matt Ryan owner. Loved it when I drafted him. Very frustrating to own. What are your thoughts on Matt Ryan? He's still a QB1, but is he? I hinted last week that he may go into the streamer conversation, and he justified what I said. What do you have to say about that?
It's like I don't think he's reached droppable yet at the point where like he's probably going to be on some waivers. Another bad game, and I think you might be right. But dude, this is a very get right matchup for the Falcons and Matt Ryan. And like I know you said it's frustrating to own him, but like it's frustrating in the fact that you just have to talk yourself into leaving him in and not getting cute with it. And the dude's throwing up 20 plus. You just have to wait till the third and fourth quarter.
Right. That's what I was just going to say. Like, you're sitting there when he has 6 at like 4 left in the third. You're just like, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And then it works out. But the Falcons just don't look right.
No, they look bad. And they have – Julio Jones hasn't looked better. Like, they're finally feeding him touchdowns and shit. The guy gets touchdowns, and they start losing every single game. I don't understand. And then, like, to talk about the run game, too, they just don't have an offensive line. And they're not – they need to I'm a Freeman owner, so this is wishful thinking on my part, but I really think they need to design more running plays and screens because that dude ate up passes, and that was the only production they had, kind of in garbage time last week against the Titans. But you need to get that passing game going, take the pressure off Matt Ryan, get shit going in the early halves of games, and maybe you won't fucking lose. Like you get dominated in the first half. Like I think they just need to be more creative on offense and sort of figure that shit out.
Yeah, on paper they have one of the greater offenses in the NFL. And what I think is this game is going to be huge to the future of Dan Quinn, because if the Falcons start to fall off in a division where Kyle Allen, Teddy Bridgewater, and Jameis Winston start to like be better teams with better records in this division, like I don't know how Dan Quinn can hold on to his job with on paper a way better offense all the way around. And I think a Dan Quinn firing, which I wouldn't say is imminent, but I think that would be the best thing like for this fantasy offense, just because whoever comes in is just going to be like, I don't know what to do. Just go sling, and that's fine. So you talked about Freeman before we get in this pass game.
Yep.
He's been coming around a little bit.
He has.
Shrek talked about a make or break week last week.
He did okay.
Coming around in the sense where, what does he have, like 30-something points over the last 2 weeks? Not where you drafted him, but what are your thoughts on Freeman?
I'm going to continue to roll. Like, I think when you guys said that on the podcast, I was like, that's what I needed to hear, because that's how I felt. Like, it was just make or break. And he put up like a decent double digit, I think 11, 12-point game, depending on your scoring system. And that's fine. Like, roll, like he's an RB2. And I feel like as long as he got really involved in the passing game last week, could be fluky, just because that was a lot of garbage time shit. But like I said, if they start to develop more of that offense and realize Freeman can still catch passes and do shit, other than running into the back of their terrible offensive line, like he'll be fucking fine.
Yeah. Ito Smith touchdown last week just had to hurt everybody that stayed the course. But
I was livid. I was like, come on, dude. They were right there. I was like, and
yep.
I've watched so much Falcons, like Freeman and Ito, that I can tell by the way they're standing, like who it is. I'm just like, oh, fuck, you got. I'm like at the bar. I'm like fucking 80 yards away. I'm like, that is Ito Smith in the back.
Yeah. No, I feel like they've always done that shit, but that's just the eye test, and I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about there. It's just never been right. Like whenever you watch the Falcons within like the 10, you're just like, don't do that, and that's just how it's always gone.
They run a very weird offense. They've had one of the best for years, and it's just weird every year. It's different every year.
Right. So to get into that passing game, let me just to save some time here. Julio, you're playing, right?
Yep.
Coop Daddy, tight end 1 now at this point.
Absolutely. We don't need to discuss any longer.
So here's a question I'll have for you now. Is Mohamed Sanu a better play than Calvin Ridley?
Sanu's been doing things, which is just more aggravating than anything, because you're not dropping Calvin Ridley. You can't trade him, and you can't really play him. So he's a shitty own right now, and you're kind of stuck with it. And he's really just like a desperate as hell, throw in your flex and hope he catches a bomb, because right now I'm not buying anything he's doing. If he catches a bomb on my bench, so be it. So like that's kind of how I view him. He's a shitty own.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I think Sanu is a better play, because he's steady. Like his low ceiling, high floor is there. He's got a steady, like minimum 6 targets every single game. We saw Calvin Ridley come out last week. I think he had 1 target. Was that last week? Am I not mistaken?
Yep.
Pretty sure 1 target. Sanu sits there and he's getting like 6 targets for like 5 catches and 79 yards every single week. It's not sexy. I'm not saying you should work your way into your lineup. I think he's ownable. Shrek and I said that he should be owned on every single team 100%, solely because I think he's one of the better wide receiver 5s or 6s in fantasy football.
Yeah, he's a sneaky own and like a savvy start if you're really fucked or in a super deep league.
Right, and I think that you can guarantee, especially in full PPR, if Sanu is healthy in a game, especially a game like this, I think that I can guarantee 9 to 10, maybe 12, 13 full-point PPR points from Mohamed Sanu week to week. Don't think that's ridiculous.
I don't either, especially in this matchup. Like, this is just juicy. Like, both teams need this, and it's going to be a fun one.
Right. On that point, I think Ridley may come back this week. Also, wait, another thing I had written down here is Sanu's catch percentage has been ridiculous. He's like got like almost like an 85% catch percentage. So like on those 7 to 8 targets that he gets per week, he's getting like 6 receptions every single time, which is hard to find in the NFL.
He's a very good wide receiver. It's just he hasn't been, kind of considered
a Bengal in a while. Oh,
considered like a solid number 2 in a while. I feel like because they've tried to do more things with Calvin Ridley than anything, and they kind of left Sanu on the side.
Right. So I think that this could be the week that Ridley catches that touchdown on your bench and kind of comes in the fold a little more. But I do think that it should be done on your bench and don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So moving on to the Texans. I know you're a big Texans owner, so I'm just going to kick it off to you right off the bat. Deshaun Watson, This entire Texans offense has been fantasy-wise extremely disappointing. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? I own a lot of Texans. You own a lot of Texans. Talk to me.
They're just doing the hot and cold thing. Like week 1, lights out. Week 2, kind of disappear. Week 3, kind of blow up again. So this is definitely, like I said, it's a get-right matchup. I think they're going to have no problem dealing with, like, the Falcons' defense. I think Deshaun Watson has a great game. I think Hopkins finally knocks out of it. I put Will Fuller sort of in, like, the Calvin Ridley spot, like we were talking. And like, he can catch the bomb, but if you really need to bench him or if you want to, I feel like you could. Him and Watson just missed, like, connecting on one last week, which could have been, like, a week maker, game winner too. I'm trying to think of, like, other things that could happen in this game. Like, do you kind of view, like, Kiki Cutie as, like, someone you can possibly sneak in on the, like, the Sanu, like, equivalent?
Not yet. I think
But with Kenny Stills probably missing this game, I feel like everyone gets, like, that target bump up too.
Yes, I agree. And I like more of like a daily fantasy play. As far as my fantasy lineup, I probably have 3 to 4 better receivers better than Kiki QT. I think that he should be owned for that reason. I don't think that that's something that's wrong, but with everything that's been going on with this Texans offense, that's not where you buy in right now. Like, you have to have a better option to buy in this week. That's just the way I look at it. I think it could happen for sure, but it's not a smart play. You can't say on paper it's a smart play.
Yeah. And I know I said equivalent, but, like, Sanu is definitely a better play than Cutie this week.
Right. And the thing with Fuller, like, you compared Fuller to Ridley, the one thing that I buy into a little bit more with Fuller is that his floor for what he is has actually been, like, okay, in the sense where his target share is consistent. Like, Ridley goes out there, gets 1 target, no catches, like, or 1 target, 1 catch to 16 yards. Like, you're fucked. Fuller, while he has been completely average, below average, is still putting up 7 to 8 PPR points, getting 6 targets per game. The big play is going to come, like you said. I think that he's a safer play just because week to week, those 6 or 7 targets at minimum is there. And, like, I own him. I have a Watson Fuller stack that I've been riding or dying every single week, and it's bit me in the ass. But Fuller still puts me up 9 or 7 at the worst full PPR points. And, like, it could be worse.
Yeah, we're just not used to seeing Will Fuller, not catch a touchdown or a crazy-ass play. So him having a floor is, like, just a weird thing to see. It's just like, oh, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So Hopkins, you got to still roll with. It sucks, but you got to roll with Hopkins.
Yeah, and, like, I don't know. He's not doing poorly. Other than throwing an interception, he's been having a pretty decent season to me. So
other than throwing an interception. That was so funny when, like, I talked to you and I was like, how did this just happen?
I was so mad. It was pretty much in the same time period that Ito Smith ran in a touchdown. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening today? And, like, 5 third stringers just scored touchdowns. I'm just like, I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah. And what's weird with Hopkins was, like, week 1 when he had his actual, like, 2 touchdown week, blow up week that's kept him relevant. That was when he had, like, drops for the first time in his career. You were like, whoa, Hopkins is dropping passes that he's never done before. And then afterwards, he's looked like a better receiver, but the results aren't there. So
yeah, exactly.
Roll out with him, dude. If someone's offering you, like,
they're buying low. If they're buying low,
fuck them. If you can buy low, go for it. But you got to stay true to an arm and a leg for Hopkins. Trade him for what you drafted him for, because the worst days are behind you, right?
Absolutely.
Have to be.
Yeah. He's still commanding an amazing, like, I think 22 to 25% of the target share. Like, dude, that's – don't even, like, I know we're just talking about a guy you're playing anyway, but, like, dude, he's a mainstay on the offense. He'll be totally fine.
And your point with the target share, his situation would be an outlier of results if he wasn't one of the best, if not the best, wide receivers in football. So it's going to come around, and don't fucking trade him away for, like, Mark Ingram and, like, Calvin Ridley to have that happen. So
couldn't agree more.
So let's just touch on this running game real quick, because I feel like people still play these assholes. That's where I could put it. Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, no, right?
You don't want to, but if I have to make a play, I'd probably prefer Hyde, who kind of actually lost, like, a decent amount of work to Johnson last week. But I still think Hyde could have a decent game, maybe fall in the end zone or something. But again, like, yeah, you don't want to play these guys. Yeah,
no, please don't. So Hyde is a guy that is consistently, and it's not growing, it's not decreasing, like 10 to 12 carries per game. What worries me and why you should not care about Duke Johnson at all was Carlos Hyde's like thing in the NFL forever was that he is an awful receiving back in the passing game, right? And last week he got 5 targets in the passing game, like 3 or 4 catches, more than Duke Johnson. That should say everything that needs to be said about what you take from Duke Johnson, right? Carlos Hyde is now involved in the passing game. The fuck out of here, Duke Johnson. Don't fucking play any of these dudes. You are fucked if you're working these guys in your lineup. You are.
Yep. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but it's weird because when Hyde's in, he's efficient, which is, obviously going to stop. So
yeah, I mean,
one week you need him, he's not going to do shit.
It's not me anywhere, but and I have bad running back situations, but I could not fathom having to be like, Carlos Hyde is the dude this week. I'm putting him in my lineup, even in a good matchup. Oh my God. Sorry if that's you. You're just fucked, dude. You're fucked.
Yeah, not great.
So yeah, I say don't play either of these guys. Hyde is the dude to play. Whatever. Pick this game.
I'm going to take the Texans here.
The Texans?
Yep.
I want to take the Texans, but I'm going to take the Falcons just because I don't even know. This is just so weird. This game could either be 13-10 or like 45 to like 42.
Yeah. This isn't going over 40 points or it's going over 80.
Yeah. All right. So moving on before we take a break right here, Buccaneers at Saints. Talk about other teams that are just really, really hard to talk about. Let's talk about the Saints first because I think they're extremely clear-cut. No one is relevant in this fantasy offense other than Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara, and you're playing them week to week.
I couldn't have said that better myself, dude. Michael Thomas he hasn't had a blow-up or a dud since we started this season. He's been very efficient, even with fucking Teddy, who is not throwing beyond 20 yards.
Yeah. And some bad matchups too.
Yeah, and he's just a fucking stud, dude. He's there to catch over 100 balls. He got paid to catch over 100 balls. He's gonna fucking do it. So keep rolling that. Don't sell him. Don't freak out about the Teddy thing. Hang in there. He's doing fine.
Yeah, those are the only guys that are relevant, and they both should be playing. The only other thing I want to say on the Saints defense, if you're still buying into Jared Cook, wake up, and Josh Hill would be a better fantasy tight end in this offense, I think. Right?
Yeah, dude,
saw him drop a touchdown last week, and
there's just no. Jared Cook looks like shit. He just looks bad too. So he's not getting targets and just sucking.
Yeah, and the other thing is Latavius Murray had a 9th round ADP dropping.
Yeah, you no longer need to be tied to that, dude. We thought he would be Mark Ingram light. He's just dog shit. So just get rid of him.
Yeah, no shame on you for thinking it, but it's just dropping. Not worth it.
Yep.
Let's flip over to the Bucs here, all over the place. You have here, is Jameis Winston real? What do you think, Vinny?
Oh, I meant that for you. Because I'll say my piece now. I'm confused, dude. Because I like Jameis. I like playing him. I like streaming him. It's kind of like a hold your breath, and
You said that like you know him. I like him. He's not the dick at the party.
At this point, I do know him, dude. I've lost. We've hit some rock bottoms and some high highs, dude. It's been fun with Jameis, but dude, he just went off against the Rams, and he's been pretty good this season, outside of a not stellar matchup against Carolina on Thursday night.
He's been really good other than his really awful performances, which is what is Jameis's MO. He's going to get you 26 or he's going to get you 6. That's just how it goes. I think that I'd rather stream Andy Dalton, especially.
Okay, that's a deep line to draw, and I think that speaks volumes.
Here's why. If I watch Dak walk into New Orleans and do what Dak did, throw up that dud, I'm not fucking betting on Jameis this week because Andy Dalton, I don't think could get me more than 20 points, but I think Andy Dalton's going to get me 15. Jameis Winston could, if I told you Jameis Winston, if I said I read the future and Jameis Winston will put up 4 fantasy points this week, would you say that's impossible? No, that is possible. That is possible. That could happen.
It's always possible, dude.
So you think you know Jameis? I know nothing about Jameis. I don't know that, man.
That's why I need to ask people because I'm just a sucker. I see him have one good game and I'm just like, holy shit, he's finally clicking. And it's just all you see everywhere. It's has Bruce Arians finally figured out Jameis? It's I don't think Bruce Arians even knows. He's just watching holy shit, he's doing really well.
Yeah, I'm not even convinced it's Jameis every week. It could be someone else and Cam just jumping in on Thursday night games. Like a
prestige situation. Just
yeah, exactly. It's like Christian Bale in the most elaborate of disguises. But so yeah, that's how I feel about Jameis. Let's roll into that passing game. Evans gets Marshawn Lattimore. What are you gonna do?
You play them, dude, because just they've had their, Lattimore wins, Evans wins. It's fine.
Yeah. But what I can ask you is Godwin will feast this week.
Oh my God, dude. He is
Godwin.
He's amazing.
He's a top 10 wide receiver right now, right?
Yes. And Mike Evans is fucking following after that stomach bug fucked him up for 2 weeks. He's right behind him, dude. This offense is clicking. That's why I'm like really curious about Winston. Like, if this dude can just be competent, they're going places because their defense is clicking too.
Yeah, no, the defense is sneaky good, as we saw, even as they gave up like 40 whatever points. But so, yeah, I like both those guys. Let's rip into just a tight end game. OJ Howard, are you buying into that shit still?
I think I'm dropping him at this point. I think it's like you drafted him really high. It's kind of like we just said about Latavius Murray. Draft capital means dick now that we're playing in the season. Just drop him and help your team. Like, he does nothing for your team right now. What'd they score? Almost 50 points, or they did score 50 points, and he puts up 4 for your fantasy team. Drop that dude.
Yeah, getting 3. That's a great way to put it right there. If you're telling me an offense is going to put up that many points and OJ Howard's getting 3 targets and like the red zone targets ticked up.
Cameron Brate caught a touchdown.
Too many zeros. I'm taking O'Shaughnessy on the Jags over him. Noah Fant on the Broncos. Like, that's where OJ Howard's range is to me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So I like that. Let's jump into this run game. Always confusing. Peyton Barber was the dude that you should own and start. What are your thoughts on this whole fucking situation?
So Ronald Jones keeps getting more work like week in, week out. I'm starting to lean in a Ronald Jones sort of way, almost to the point where I'm curious about buying him in deeper leagues where someone just might not like dealing with the situation. He's looked good. Like, just watching him, you're just like, okay, he's actually making good cuts, making good reads, and seems to be someone they want to get more work. Although Peyton Barber is still a person and there. They both had pretty good games against the Rams. It's tough to read, much like Jameis Winston, but I do think I'm leaning Ronald Jones for the run game. Peyton Barber's just – like, when are you throwing him in and feeling good about it? Like, if you own Ronald Jones, at least you're like, he looks good. I can possibly get, like a decent amount of touches. Like Peyton Barber, I would just be so worried.
Yeah, so Peyton Barber was third on the snaps in that backfield this past week to Jones, like you said, and then Oompa Loompa Lay. And then I still think that, like, hopefully you're not starting either of these guys. Peyton Barber, if you absolutely had to, I think is still the better start just because he's been more productive. I think that's short term. I hope you don't have to do it. Ronald Jones, the better own. Peyton Barber is the better start. And I think both those dudes should be owned, but both of them should also rot on your benches like your running back 5 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, this is probably a better outlook than I painted it.
Yeah, exactly. So with that, let's pick this game here. Vinny, what you got?
I'm going to go with the Bucks. Actually.
I like it. They're better than we think. I can't pick against the Saints at home, so I'm going to go Saints.
That's also a good move. If Jameis has a good game, do you buy in?
I mean, yeah. Like, Jameis's good game is like 24 touchdowns and like 650 yards, but his bad game is also like nothing.
The opposite
6
of that.
fumbles. Yeah. So, yeah, if Jameis has a good game, then like, yeah, the Bucks. But no. All right, well, with that, we are going to take a break for a live sponsor read, and we will get back to you with the second half of this.
You're listening to Let's Talk Fantasy Football, home of the brutally honest fantasy advice you've always needed.
All right, welcome back. You heard a little live read from my bookie right there. Vinny and I are here about to jump into the second half of part 1 of our Week 5 preview. Let's just jump right into it. Vinny, we have the Vikings at the Giants. This game should be fun to watch in the Northeast on local television.
Thank God I have Red Zone.
Yeah. Vikings. Let's jump into the Vikings first. We've seen a lot of weird shit out of the Vikings. Walsh called it perfectly. Run-first offense. We all kind of thought it more so than I thought for sure. We saw Adam Thielen call out Kirk Cousins a little bit. A lot of weirdness going on in that Minnesota locker room. Where do you value Kirk Cousins? What do you think of this receiving game?
The matchup is perfect for them to come in, absolutely obliterate the Giants. Like, they shouldn't even run it once against the Giants. They should just come out, just be like, dude, we have fucking weapons here. Even Dalvin Cook can start catching passes too. They're like a very good offense. That's like the dumbest, lamest thing I've ever said, but they have a very, very good offense, and they don't use a lot of the pieces, correctly. I think Kirk Cousins is competent. I was a big truther of him, and he's come out and proved me like pretty wrong. Like he just, beats on the bad teams, does really, really poorly against the good teams. But I think he can smash this Giants team, and I think that's what they're going to do. Squeaky wheel, perhaps, for Thielen here. I feel like you still play Thielen. I feel like you still play Diggs if he goes. Diggs did miss practice, but I do feel like this team has a chance to come out and just fucking obliterate the Giants with a really good passing onslaught.
Yeah, so Diggs, we have no reason yet why he missed that practice. He's expected to get Janoris Jenkins after a week where we saw him get the season.
Jenkins has played like absolute shit this year, though.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that whoa. If anything, I'm saying that as Thielen should get the second Giants corner, who I don't even know who the fuck that is. So that's my point there. To your point, I think you're right. And I think the common perception will be that there's been, publicized Adam Thielen comments, and, Kirk Cousins was like, sorry, I missed you in the end zone and shit like that. But I'm wondering if actually, because I agree with you that they should handily win this game, that I wonder if this is the week that they're like, no, we are going to justify our run first shit when we win by 3 possessions against the Giants. This is going to be where they're like, we're a good team and we're still not going to throw it that much because we're going to win this game. That's a paranoid scare tactic of mine where they may throw a little bit more early on, but if it gets to the point where you can tell they're going to win this game and they're up 14-3, they're like, wait, let's show everybody why we want it to be a run first team, and we're going to hammer it down our point. I don't think they're going to bail from it as quickly as people think that they will just because of what's coming in that locker room. That scares me.
Oh no, that's a very good point. We could both be right. They could come out, sling first half, completely dominate. You get good weeks out of I don't know if you want to stream Cousins. You could possibly, but that's super risky, super risky.
Please don't do it. No reason.
Kirk or Andy Dalton?
Andy Dalton.
Kirk or Jameis?
Jameis.
All right, you really hate Kirk.
Yeah.
But that being said, they could still come out first half, pass a ton. I think Thielen can come out with a good game. Diggs can come out with a good game. And then still salt the game away. They could properly win a football game, obtain the lead, salt it away. And that's probably what the Vikings want to do. And they're going to have no problem on defense stopping the Giants. I feel like that's how this game is going to go. And
to your question, I'm a Kirk believer forever until the past couple of weeks. And on paper,
Dude,
I think that Kirk is a better choice than both of those dudes. But I just have seen other things happen more. Andy Dalton and Jameis, I have seen that happen. Kirk, it has not happened yet, and I'm not fucking doing it yet. But on the same token, obviously Cook's a stud. You're starting Thielen and you're starting Diggs. You have to. Last week was the week to not start Diggs, and I just gripped my couch and did it anyway in a league, and I was like, oh my God, thank God it worked out. So better matchup.
Yeah. So in one league, I have Cole Beasley and Diggs. Up until Sunday at 12:40, I had Beasley in, and I'm just like, you know what? I think Diggs could possibly make some moves on the inside and get at the Bears defense in some way. Obviously, that wound up happening in a decent fashion. So I'm like, oh, thank fucking Christ, because I watched Beasley get 14 full PPR points. I'm like, oh my God, shoot me.
But the fact that that's your conversation is where we're at, and that's intense.
It's rough, dude. It's so rough. But this is definitely an opportunity where you shouldn't fade them, and you should stay the course and just kind of Giants is a great matchup. So
yeah. I think that's it on the Vikings pretty much. Let's roll over to the Giants. Danny Dimes finally bled through those 2 picks against the Redskins, who weren't good. They went up big, of course, but what do you feel about Daniel Jones in that streamer conversations? I put him in the Andy Dalton Jameis conversation for sure.
For this week?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
no.
No. You're right. No. Don't start him this week.
So. Oh, hell no, dude. This is a bench for sure, dude. So
you're right.
Me and Walsh were talking very highly of him last week because they had the Redskins, and he kind of, he did good early and then just immediately threw picks, kind of fell apart. It's just funny because, we live on the East Coast where it's just you hear Giants fans just this dude is going to save us. And then he has a little rough game in a division matchup, and they're just this guy might suck. It's just what do you want week to week?
right.
I'm just so confused by them. I hear it all day. So I'm just, I'm venting now, but he's fine. It's just this is not the matchup, man. It's a bad matchup. They're going to have a rough time, and they're going to lose at home to the Vikings. So I really don't want a piece really of the offense. I think the only guy you're really forced into playing is Wayne Gallman, who, if you own him and you're not starting him this week, I don't understand what your pickup was for, because Saquon's coming back faster than he's supposed to.
Yeah, so I disagree because I love some of these receiving options a little bit, like Ingram and Shepard a little bit. But Gallman, so it's funny, last week with me and Shrek did the preview, I was like, everybody says Gallman's average. Gallman's going to do really, really well and get a lot of touches. And then we ended the podcast, and I was like, I woke up the next morning after like 11 Budweisers, like, oh my God, that was a very bad thing to say. And then I saw him like catch that one touchdown. I was like, oh my God, thank God. This is the smartest thing you've ever said on this podcast. You have redeemed yourself. And but I agree with what you're saying. Like, I've never done that. I suck usually, so that was my one good call ever. The volume is super there. We saw Hilliman get in there. Also, Gallman's banged up. I forget what it is now. Keep an eye on that. He had a neck injury or something. They said that it's not supposed to hinder him at all. And then like Hilliman came in and fumbled the ball away in like a weird moment where the Redskins could come back. Gallman is a volume play. He's getting 25. We talked about how he could get 20-plus touches. He should get 20-plus touches again. We're both in agreement, I think, that the Vikings are going to go a big pretty early. And they have nothing to lose with feeding Gallman, especially with Saquon practicing, which we should actually talk about for a second.
No, definitely. He's way ahead of his timetable. Dude's actually running. So, like we're saying, like the Gallman pickup, time is ticking. So if you're going to – if you spent a lot of money to pick him up in like a budget league, auction league, if you had your first waiver priority, you're probably in a rough situation. He's probably your best option. Use the guy. It's not a great matchup, but it's a volume play, like you said, and it's there. Saquon could be back very soon. If you want to make a move to trade for him, no one's going to accept it. But hey, if you don't shoot your shot, but it's pretty cool that he'll be back soon. Yeah,
and congratulations if you own Saquon and that's happening to you. But like to your point, last thing I'll say on Gallman is like, here's the thing. On fringe low-end running back twos, mid-running back twos, how many of them can you say are – and regardless of how this bad Vikings matchup goes, how many of those guys can you say will get 20 touches in week 5? And I think Gallman is one that you can confidently say will. And I think a lot of other guys, even guys like Devontae Freeman and dudes like that, I don't think you can say that about guys like that. While Freeman's a better play – I'm saying that Gallman, I think, is a surefire 20-touch guy even this week.
There's really nothing I can say to like refute that. It's pretty dead on.
Yeah. So let's move into the pass. I still think you're rolling out Gallman, low-end running back to flex play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's move into this passing game. You said you didn't like anybody on the Giants other than Gallman. What about Shepard and Ingram, Braj?
Oh, my bad. I mean, Ingram, of course. Like, I'm not going to say anything bad about that. Ingram's been so good. Him and Daniel Jones have a connection, so – that's been working out really well. Shepard, no, I'm not going to. And this is the return of Golden Tate as well. And I think that some interesting things will play out. I just want to kind of see how they play. I don't know if Shepard gets kicked out, sees Xavier Rhodes a lot. It could be a fucking problem for him, dude.
Nope.
Just no. You think that Golden Tate is going to play on the outside for the first time in his career?
No, but I think that fuck.
What the fuck?
No, and then here's the thing. All I can look at is Shepard, 2 straight weeks with Daniel Jones, 9 targets, looks really good with him. They have a little bit of a chemistry. Again, like to your point, Xavier Rhodes has not been Xavier Rhodes this year.
But he can be against fucking Shepard.
Right, exactly. But what I'm saying is that as a wide receiver 3, where I view Shepard is, low-end wide receiver 2, I view him at 9 to 10 targets that I think he should get in a game where the Giants will be down. I see no reason to back off of it now. And I don't think Golden Tate is going to come in his first week. And you'll see a little bit about what their game plan is. But he's never played a snap with not only the Giants, but definitely not fucking Daniel Jones. So I'm not buying into that connection whatsoever yet. And I'm rolling out Shepard as a wide receiver 3.
In the preseason, he caught a dime from Danny Dimes.
Really?
He did. It was very sexy.
All right. Well, I'm not coming back for the second part of this podcast. Fuck you.
But it's just like the targets that Ingram and Golden Tate even like could possibly get because they're playing over the middle against this Vikings defense are probably more valuable and probably more catchable than anything Shepard's going to see on the outside.
Okay. I don't hate it. I'm rolling out Shepard, and please, now I'm upset. So
I'm sorry, dude.
It's all right. what you're saying kind of makes a little bit of sense, and I don't like it at all. So fuck you. And
reality is sometimes really rough, man.
Shit. All right. Well, I need to go take a minute to think about things after that and formulate my lineups. But I love Shepard this week still. I just can't sit 9 targets and a couple end zone targets with Daniel Jones in a game where I think they're going to be down as hell. And,
all right. Okay.
That's just, but you're right. Shit, you're right. All right. Anyway, with that, Vinny, I think that's all we. Oh no, do we have one more? Oh, we have 2 more.
Two more, dude. Well, I'm gonna take the Vikings for this one. We'll speed up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Vikings. All right, let's speed up a little bit too. London game, Bears, Raiders. Let's start with the Bears, 4.5 favorite. Chase Daniel, what you doing with these dudes? There's 2 guys that are relevant.
Well, let's look at the quarterback situation. Like, it's not a huge downgrade, but it's also not like you kind of missed out on some weird, freaky plays that Trubisky could do. So I guess in some form or fashion, their ceiling is limited, but I just feel like Allen Robinson is safe. And that's, like you said, there too. I just think there's really one. It's just Allen Robinson for me.
See, again, I look at David Montgomery with the volume thing. So Allen Robinson, yes, he had like 7 catches, 77 yards.
He's their dude. He's their dude.
And Chase Daniel looked fine against the Vikings defense, which was impressive, honestly.
No, he really did.
Maybe better than Mitchell Trubisky. Can't say that he's not.
That's why I said it's not a downgrade. It's literally like you kind of just settle. I think Chase Daniel did this last year too, where he looked good in relief and then came in for a full game and just was not that great. So maybe temper expectations in that way, but Allen Robinson is not. He has to be in your roster.
Yeah, I think you bump him down to a wide receiver 3, but like he's there.
Yeah, he's still talented as shit.
So I'm a stubborn Montgomery owner. He's had some bad efficiency, but the workload is so there, dude. Like 21 carries last week.
It's getting there.
I really liked how it's getting there, but it's increasing every single week. I really liked how last week they gave him 5 targets in the air. They're throwing to him at the end of those games, whether they're up or they're down. They're really feeding him. They're trying to establish that run. And I just look back to it where Montgomery has been one of the more inefficient starters other than like Josh Jacobs, who we're going to talk about in a second. But that volume is so hard to come by, even with running back ones, like 25 touches that I'm throwing in as a running back too, especially against an Oakland defense who has been sneaky good against the run and held guys like Phillip Lindsay to like less than 50 yards and like shit like that. But I'm rolling David Montgomery out there again. I roll him out there every single week, and it's okay. High-ass floor on 24 touches.
Yeah, only thing is he's not been like super good with those touches. He's averaging about like 3.5, per carry.
Right.
So like I think they will lean on him more since Trubisky is out, and they kind of want to probably play it safer and just win with defense. Not like there's not to say that they're not doing that with Trubisky already in there, but probably lean on it a little bit more. And they totally stopped playing Mike Davis, which is sweet. He's out of the picture. Cordell Patterson is still a fucking problem, but you're right. David Montgomery's trending, and I guess he's kind of becoming in a hard-to-sit territory.
Yeah, for sure. Let's flip over to the Raiders right here. There's no one else in the Bears, right?
No.
Flip over to the Raiders. I think you sit everybody.
I'm playing Darren Waller, like everywhere.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You're right, Darren Waller.
Yeah.
It's the only one I'm playing.
Are you sitting Josh Jacobs, like, already? You kind of
– yeah. I mean,
it's a horrible, horrible matchup.
Bears are giving up like 3 yards per carry. Rookie in London, like all that shit going on. Best defense in football, arguably. I said last week you should stay the course. He didn't really come through, and I think it's okay to bail on him a little bit. I don't see how it happens this week.
Would you play like Ronald Jones over him?
I wouldn't say Ronald Jones just because there's more mouths to feed. Like Josh Jacobs is the dude, but the touches aren't there as much, and the matchup is arguably the worst running back matchup in football this week.
Yeah, I mean, fully agreed on that front. But
yeah,
for some people, I mean, I talk about every week. It's probably tough for people to sit Josh Jacobs the way you drafted him.
Fine. That's okay. Yeah, but like I like guys we'll get to a little bit later, Jalen Samuels and that upside, like things like that. I like that a little bit more, maybe. Not quite Ronald Jones era, but like I'm getting to the point of Carlos Hyde, who I hate from the last one. Like I'm getting there, and some of these Eagles guys we'll talk about next. But
Jesus Christ! All right.
Other than Darren Waller, you're playing Tyrell Williams.
Yeah, if Tyrell Williams, he's dealing with some injuries, but if he's out there, he's been great, catching a lot of touchdowns. So he's bound to fuck you eventually, but he is commanding next closest target share to Darren Waller on an offense that is doing okay, better than we thought, and he's one of the guys out there. So
I don't want to play Tyrell this week. He was probably your wide receiver 3. He's only had like 110. He's got that touchdown every week, but 110 total yards over the last 3 weeks. So I think this is the week that you fade off that. You should have like another fringe wide receiver you could throw in ahead of him. I like guys like Will Fuller, Calvin Ridley, dudes like that over him this week.
What about like Andy Isabella or Auden Tate, who we talked about early?
I think Auden Tate I like over him this week.
Not Andy Isabella, though.
No, just because I haven't seen it yet. That's the only reason.
Okay.
Enough. But yeah, I just can't make that choice with the click right there.
Gotcha.
Auden Tate I can't get. So let's move on. You got anything else on the Raiders? I think we're good there.
Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna take the Bears here.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bears too. Jets at Eagles. Jets. What do we got here? I mean, we got Le'Veon Bell. You're rolling him out there. You have to, coming off a bye.
Yeah. So the Darnold news is a little bit fucking weird. They kind of said like he's not expected to play, and then he started practicing. So that leads me to believe that he has a probably greater shot to play than we think right now. So obviously more news is going to come out. We're recording Wednesday, so you'll know more than us. Obviously, this line will move. Eagles are favored by 14. If Darnold's out there, I guess they get a little bit of an offensive bump, but I still think the Eagles give them trouble.
Yeah, I don't think Darnold plays this week, but I think that's a good sign for him in the future. Jamison Crowder and Robbie Anderson, can you do that?
Hold them.
Hold them both.
They will be good eventually, hopefully.
Yeah. Only other thing I'll say on the Jets is that if Darnold is actually like getting closer to where we think he could be, Chris Herndon is coming off that suspension. After this week, will be available week 6 to play. If you're in that tight end pool of shit, like maybe go ahead.
Yeah, if you got bench room, that's totally fine.
Yeah, only if Darnold's playing do I like him. But yeah. So let's flip it over to the Eagles. Carson Wentz. I've been a Carson Wentz doubter. I'm wrong. What are your thoughts?
I have a lot of Carson Wentz. I'm not really sure how it happened. I get too drunk at drafts, I guess.
Yeah.
I think this is a great matchup for him. He's going to do well. Everyone's going to do well. Hurts. How do you feel about playing Alshon?
So I like Alshon. The volume hasn't been there that great, but the 2 games that he's been like fully healthy and active, he's got a touchdown. I think he's a wide receiver 2, right where you drafted him. It's one of the better matchups for sure. And, if you took him, I didn't like Alshon. I own no Alshon, and I never have solely because of this reason. But if you did, this is the matchup. What better matchup home against the Jets that you would feel good about it?
Yeah, they should exploit this team for sure. I guess really the problem is what the fuck to do with this running game, because Jordan Howard's been a hot pickup this week. Miles Sanders underwhelming, fumbling and shit, losing work to Jordan Howard. And Darren Sproles is, making cameos every once in a while. What the fuck? I don't really own a lot of shares of these guys. What do you do with these guys, man?
Yeah. And one thing I just want to say about the passing game is like Aguilar, hold on to him, but like that one target last week.
You're not playing.
When Jeffrey was gone, he was good, but like don't play him. But
also Deshaun is probably going to miss this game as well.
Yeah. So Sanders, it's a bad news for Sanders what happened last week. I mean, Howard's not going to score 3 touchdowns ever again in his career. That was crazy. But he is getting more work. He's getting more passing work. When they were like in the thick of it and a little bit like behind and then ahead of the Packers, Howard was the guy. Granted, he was more efficient, but like Miles Sanders, the book on him was that they were going to phase him in the way we saw David Montgomery get phased in, where it's like first week Mike Davis gets carries and like Montgomery gets phased in. Then it starts to go where like he's taking over the job. Sanders is not doing it. And like other than like last week or 3 weeks or week 3 rather, other than the like fat catch that he had for like 50 yards, he's been pretty average and had like overall like 9 to 10 PPR points, not really loving it. And the fact that they were feeding Howard so much is extremely concerning for Sanders owners and Howard owners. I don't know what to do. Howard's the better start, right?
I think Howard's a better start week to week. He's their goal line back. Touchdown upside is massive. Miles Sanders does not have that. I think Miles Sanders, he has any good games in the coming weeks, you sell that dude. Because there's still, like, no matter how good Jordan Howard could be or Miles Sanders could be, they're still in a timeshare where they're rotating out. No one's seeing more than, like, 30% of snaps. Like,
yeah,
you don't want to bank on that week to week. Get this guy off your team. if he has a good week and, he's either on your bench or in your team, like whatever, you take advantage or not, get this guy out of here, get something that you're missing, like even pay up, like use him to get like a tight end or something.
Yeah.
Make you like trade Miles Sanders for Darren Waller possibly if he has a fucking amazing week and comes off.
Great call, because like 1 or 2 weeks ago, I was like trying to trade for Miles Sanders, and the trades didn't really work out, and I'm very fucking thankful now that they didn't, because
really Howard's
workload's been steadily going up, and Sanders has been staying, and like I think when push comes to shove, they're going to stick to the veteran right now, because that NFC East is wide open, and the Eagles are like not going to fucking start to feature Miles Sanders too much if there's any risk involved.
I think a lot of that is Doug Peterson being like, we brought Jordan Howard in. The dude's 1,000-yard rusher every season he's been in the league. Why are we giving this dude who's a rookie, who's fumbling, any sort of work or, overworking this guy? So bringing in Jordan Howard, kind of level it out. It could change like mid-season or whatever. They want to phase Miles Sanders in like they should have instead of rushing him out there. Things could change, and that's like kind of what we're saying. Like you can use Jordan Howard right now, goal line upside. Miles Sanders, probably you don't want to wait. So I think if anybody wants these guys and you own them, I think you should trade them away.
Yeah, I agree. But I will say, though, that like as we both said, Howard's a better play. And this week, I don't think it's a bad play actually in like a flex region, like low end, mid end running back 3, just because of the Jets and how this game could go.
Yeah, I would feel real dirty putting him in just because you're literally chasing an impossible amount of points from last week. But it is still a good start.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I mean, Ertz, obviously, we talked about that. Yep. That's a go. So, I think that's it on this game, Vinny, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, you're going to pick that shit?
Eagles, please.
Eagles for sure. All right. So, I think that maybe wraps it up for part 1 of our preview podcast. Vinny, you got anything else on any of these games?
No. We're going to hit the next little section, and, that's what we got next.
Look for part 2 of the Week 5 preview, and like we said in the beginning of this podcast, look for the Week 4 recaps and good shit from Shrek. So with that, I will wrap this part up. Look for that part 2. For Vinny Gonzalez, I am Matt Rodgers. Peace out to Let's Talk Fantasy Football podcast, dude. Week 5, let's go. Later.
This has been Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Thanks for listening.